Hi there, my name is Ken Kaloji. I'm the founder and CEO of String Automotive Solutions, and today I wanted to take a few minutes of your time to give you a walkthrough of a product that we created called the Dealer Positioning System, or DPS. You see it right up here, String DPS. And before I get started in giving you a tour of the product, I wanted to take just a sec to outline our motivation for creating a tool like this. So we've been working with dealers for years at the retail level in digital marketing, and every dealer seems to have the same sort of a problem around data, right? It's that not that you guys don't have enough data; it's that you have too much data. And the problem is, A, you don't have the time to be crunching numbers and trying to take reports, for example, from 20 different vendors that you might have, all good data sets, all good vendors, but ultimately one vendor's report doesn't tie into another vendor's report, right? So you don't have the time for that. That's not what you're there for. You're at the dealership to sell cars, to move metal, as it were. And so being able to tie together all of these vendor reports is critical to making good decisions, to figuring out what worked well for you and what didn't work well, what you need to improve on. And being able to do that proactively in real time, so to speak, rather than a week, 2 weeks after you close out the month, is critical. It's critical to making good business decisions. It's critical to making decisions that are going to save you money and ultimately going to sell you more cars and make you more money. Uh, so we thought, hey, well, we've got pretty good skill sets in data. We're kind of data geeks. We're very good with Google Analytics and other data sets. We've been in the industry for 8, 9 years now, dealing with dealers at the retail level, tier 3 level. So we know the industry really well. We know what works and what doesn't from a digital perspective. And we're good software guys. We're good technology people. And so let's combine all of our three skill sets and let's deliver a product to dealers that takes all that data, makes it easy, makes it really visual, because of course humans are not meant to be living in spreadsheets, in my opinion. And let's also take that data and make it actionable. So let's give actionable intelligence in real time or near real time to the users of the tool, to our dealers, who can then take those insights and take action on them to tick the needle upwards, whether it's to generate more traffic, more leads, or more sales. So that's the genesis for this product. We're very passionate about it. It's something that we feel that we do really, really well, and we're really excited about the tool. So I'm going to let me start with a summary view here. I'm going to go tab by tab. You can see there are 5 different tabs: dashboard, vehicle sales, inventory, traffic, and reputation. And I'm going to give you, rather than just go feature by feature, I'm actually going to give you a use case for each one of these tabs. So we'll start with the dashboard. You can see you've got the summary view here. For a dealer that's actually out in Colorado, Toyota dealer. And this is what's called the bubble chart. No surprise, of course, it's full of bubbles. And what this gives you is a high-level overview of your web traffic, your leads, digital leads in this case, and sales flow. And so it's going to give you a really visual means of figuring out where you need to focus your attention. And so I said I'd give you a use case. So for example, let's pretend you're the e-commerce director and your GM calls you. It's mid-month, for example. 1 week into the month, mid-month, for example, and the GM calls and says, how are we doing? And so rather, up until the DPS, rather than spend the next day, week, what have you, or at least a few hours trying to cobble together reports, call vendors frantically, I need this report, I need that report, big fire drill for everybody, just to figure out where you stand in the month, log into the DPS, go to the dashboard, and you can see firsthand, without doing any heavy lifting, besides, of course, typing in your login and clicking the mouse a couple of times, where you need to be focusing your attention. And so real high level, excuse me, let's look at the traffic. It looks like, see the green circle and the white dotted line for direct and branded, for SEO as well, these 2 major categories of traffic and traffic overall, you're up, month to date versus previous month to date. In fact, it looks like you're up about 30% traffic-wise overall. That's great, right? But let's take a look at this. You've got your paid traffic that looks like it's down. Note the red circle, down month to date versus previous month to date, and referral traffic also down. So, we as car people, we as car guys, if you will, as dealers, so to speak, we good enough is never good enough, right? Things are up. That's great. Let's keep doing that. Let's put a watch on it. Let's try to replicate what we're doing well in these categories of traffic. But even though traffic's up overall and leads are up overall, we notice that sales are down. And even if traffic's up, why isn't it up more, right? So let's drill into that pay-per-click traffic. Let's go into the detail view for a sec. and get more of a deep dive, so to speak, into what's working for us and what isn't working for us. And so I'll come back to that in just a sec, but I wanted to quickly highlight leads over here. We've got web leads and phone leads in this case, and then of course sales, new and used. And so this data is all coming directly from the respective sources. It's no heavy lifting on your part. Once we get the data in, we just continue to pull it day after day and continue to update the data in our database so that you can visualize it as needed. And so all the web traffic is going to come directly from Google Analytics. Leads are going to come from their respective providers, including Google Analytics for web leads, and sales, of course, are going to be pulled directly from your DMS. So it's all your data, and it's direct from the source. And so let's drill down. So if again, we're in the context of e-commerce director, internet director, what have you. GM calls and says, "How are we doing? I need to get a status report, so to speak." And so you log into the DPS and you say, "Okay, great. Well, guess what? Direct and branded traffic is up month on month. Same with organic traffic, so we're doing well there. Although our branded traffic is down slightly, about 10%, and that's a function of a pretty good indicator, not perfect indicator, but a pretty good indicator of traditional advertising and branding. But maybe we'll let that sit for a sec, and let's really focus on SEM and PPC because this is stuff that we're paying for. It's pay per click, right? And so if you look, you can see that right away, what jumps out is that our dynamic PPC campaign is down 30% month on month. So that's interesting. All right, and all of our other campaigns combined are down 33% after the top 3 campaigns, I should say. So we've got a pretty significant drop in visitors, period on period. Although our Bing managed campaign looks like it's up about 8%, which is good. And then our enhanced A campaign is down about 8%. And so the action item on this one, if I were the e-commerce director, I'd be able to say, okay, well, guess what? Hey, Mr. GM, I'm on it. And guess what? We're doing well for direct and branded. Organics up month on month, period on period, which is great. But I've noticed that there's a little bit of a dip in our paid traffic. And so I've got to call into, looks like Haystack in this case. I've got to call into Haystack. I'm going to get on the phone with them. I'm going to see what we can do to take the needle upwards to fix this and turn it around. And that's great because rather than, remember, this is mid-month, this is real time. We spent a total of 3 minutes looking at this tool. And you as the user have spent a total of probably 30 seconds, especially after you're used to it, pinpointing exactly what needs attention. So now you can tell the GM, I'm on it in real time, rather than having to, it's going to take 2 days for them to get the reports together. I've got to, set up a meeting. I've got to do this, do that, cobble it together, try to match it up with my Google Analytics, make sure that everything's consistent. No, this is all in there. It's all there in real time, and it allows you to answer that question. Talk to your GM and say, yep, I'm on it. Here's what's happening. I'm going to plug this hole. We're going to fix it, and we're going to make it. Right. And you can see the same thing here in terms of referral traffic. It looks like cars.com traffic is down 30%. Who knows, right? Maybe that's because, again, we're only talking about 20 visitors overall, but maybe that's because you changed your ad package. Maybe that's because cars is just having fewer people are looking for cars on cars, so to speak, whatever. But the point is now you can have an educated, empowered discussion with your particular vendor. And last thing I'll highlight on this chart is that it's not just that we're presenting the data in a salient, visual, actionable fashion. We actually call out these little exclamation points here. These are what we call gems. These are basically action items, actionable intelligence. We take the data, we run it against business rules that we have created in our system every night, and we spit out, based on benchmarks and based on best practices, we spit out gems or action items that you can do to correct a potentially dangerous situation. So in other words, if we hover over this, it looks like on 3 different pages on our site, conversion rates are below 0.5%. And so again, in midstream, we can say, hey, not only are we going to talk to you can tell your GM, not only are we going to talk to our pay-per-click provider to see if we can fix some of the downward trend here on the paid advertising, we're also going to take action to make the existing traffic convert better based on, effectively for free. I mean, we're not paying anybody to do that. That's probably something that we're doing ourselves internally, trying to rejigger the landing pages. And so we're going to make the existing traffic that's coming through more prone to converting, which of course, all else being equal, is going to lead to more sales. So right away, we've been able to identify 2 critical action items just today, right? Again, this gets refreshed day by day. So tomorrow could lead to a whole new set of opportunities, so to speak. So let me actually move down very quickly to I'll skip over a couple of these and get a little more detail into the gems. And so again, these are action items that we have that we've basically output as a result of our business rules to say that some of these, of course, are more important than others. Some of them are very tactical, but some of them are, but they're all important. And some of them are very strategic in the sense that we go from inventory, right? So merchandising 101, add pictures to 60 vehicles, add prices to 50 vehicles. And hey, look at this. On one car, looks like the price has been stagnant for over 2 months now. So maybe that's okay. It depends on your policy. Obviously, your mileage may vary. Dealer by dealer, everybody's different. But we're calling this out to be able to say, so you can identify right away that this car hasn't been repriced for over 2 months, and so maybe it's time to take another look. So again, we don't just present the data in a visual fashion, in a simple, easy to interpret fashion. We actually make it actionable as well. And so that to me is a very, very cool feature of the DPS. So that's use case number one. GM calls, how are we doing? You can give him or her a report very, very quickly and take action on that, right? Not just be left with everybody holding the bag and trying to figure out what do we do now. So let's move on to to vehicle sales. So let me actually use another dealer. So this is the vehicle sales tab. We're gonna go across the country over here to Boston, so you can see the map being displayed. Let me just, there we go, blow it out to a 30-mile radius, zoom in a little bit. So this is a Google Maps plot, right? So the vehicle sales tab. So the use case for this would be effectively, okay, well, for example, all right, let's, we're trying to cut budget on advertising. We're looking to see where we can either reoptimize our spend, or even where we can cut a few dollars. Now, excuse me, now, I'm not an advocate of just slicing and dicing. It's important to get the data, gather the data first, get all the parties in the same room, or at least on the phone at the same time, and say, okay, here's the situation. How can we work together to remedy things? It's not about who can we cut. It's about how can we best utilize our partners and make sure that everybody is working together to benefit the dealer. So in this particular case, if you say, okay, well, we've got to cut, let's try to cut $1,000, for example, from our digital advertising budget, or let's see if we can cut, or we got to cut 5. Where do we start? Whatever the case might be. This is one of the dashboards, a very effective dashboard to be able to answer that question for you. So again, we've got the dealer right here in the middle. We've got all of the sales actually plotted. The retail sales, new and used. Blue squares represent new, yellow squares represent used, pre-owned. And then you see all of the zip codes around the area outlined and then highlighted in various shades of blue. And so what that is, this is actually where all of your web traffic, same 4 categories as before, paid traffic, organic, referrals, and direct and branded, where those traffic sources are coming from on a zip code by zip code basis. And so what this is going to allow you to do, especially if we pull back on all the other traffic sources and we just look at paid traffic, this is going to allow you to say, hey, you know what? We're actually paying for people up north of the dealership to come to our website, right? Every single one of these visitors, 7 here, 1 here, what do we have? 3 over here, et cetera, 1, 10, so on and so forth. Every single one of these is costing us $1, $2, $5, depending on the keywords that they're bidding on. And so that's a problem, right? We're spending money, but if you notice, there are no blue or yellow squares anywhere over here, meaning that we're paying for visitors to come to our website who are coming from north of the city, but they're not buying cars from us. So chances are what's happening is that these ads are being shown to people who are cruising on Google or Yahoo or Bing or what have you, and they're going to our website. We're paying for that. They're shopping us, and then they're going right down the road to our competitor over here, AutoFair, and bringing in a vehicle details page printout, for example, or just being able to come in and say, hey, Clay's willing to offer this car for X. What are you willing to do? Because these people probably don't want to drive all the way down. So they're virtually shopping, but physically buying over here. And that's money out of our pocket that we're spending to help benefit this competitor up north sell more cars. So that's something that we obviously don't want to continue doing, right? So that right there and then you'd be able to say, okay, again, let's get our partners together. Let's talk about a good game plan to either reoptimize our spend or even reoptimize our campaigns. Keep spend the same, but reoptimize campaigns, retarget things, optimize our landing pages, so on and so forth, in order to get the biggest bang for our buck. And as a neat little kicker here, we actually even display Polk data as well, so that way you can get a pretty good complexion of market share, so to speak. In other words, how many new Nissans were registered in this zip code for the previous period, how many used cars in total were registered in that particular zip code. So giving you a pretty good idea of where do we start targeting? Where's there a lot of meat on the proverbial bone? What are the best zip codes for us to start targeting our paid advertising or even traditional advertising, like direct mail, for example, getting a good complexion. So that's use case number 2. In other words, where do we start in terms of optimizing our spend, right? For digital advertising, for example. So I'm going to move on for a sec. Let's move on to another client. Let's go on the inventory tab. And so in this particular case, the use case for this would be, okay, well, what should we be? We want to allocate some of our dynamic advertising, right? Paid advertising, great use case for this. Otherwise, you could also say beginning of the month, okay, looking forward, what do we want to advertise if you're still advertising in the papers or TV, radio, even direct mail, et cetera, et cetera. What do we want to be advertising on a model by model basis, right? We know what the incentives are for the manufacturer, but what can we as a dealer do to help promote things? And so that's where you go to the inventory tab. Okay, now we're looking at the new inventory. We have a very visual view of what we have in stock right now, what's on the lot, ability to drill into the trim level so you can see exactly what you have. Nice attractive drill down, better than certainly an eye chart that's coming out of a DMS. And the same data is represented here in a vertical fashion. So we've got what we have on a lot versus what we sold in the previous period. And I'm actually going to go up to the last 30 days just to get a better, bit of a better view. And so we're going to say, okay, well, look, we've got a whole bunch. We have 33 Beetles on the lot today. We sold 8 last month. Okay, well, not the end of the world, but how are things doing? Let's see if there's demand for Beetles. Maybe it was a bad month, right? And so it looks like, well, they've been sitting for a good chunk of time now, about 4 months, for example, sitting on the lot. Maybe we need to do some merchandising. Again, that depends on your dealership. These are new cars, so not everybody wants to merchandise and take photos of new cars. That's okay. They're all priced well. That's good. And then we get over to the Dataium data. And this is where things get a little bit more interesting. We say, okay, well, month on month, the ASI score, the Dataium ASI score for the local market, in this particular case, it would be, I believe, the Boston-Manchester DMA. It's the search activity, okay? ASI stands for Automotive Shopper Intensity. So the search activity in Boston for new VW Beetles is down 100% month on month. That's a big change, big negative change. And so what that tells us, according to Dataium, there's an 86% correlation between the change in ASI score for a particular model in a particular market month on month and the associated change in sales of that particular model in that particular market 6 weeks out, 45 days out. So what we can tell, so this effectively gives us the way I like to look at it is a 6-week crystal ball into what will happen in terms of actual sales on the ground in the local market for that particular model. So we can see that chances are new Beetles are trending downwards, and probably fewer people, I mean, certainly fewer people are searching for them online, but therefore we can be pretty certain that fewer people are going to be buying them. And since they've been sitting around, we can be reasonably confident that that's probably the case. So maybe we want to get ahead of the curve, seize this opportunity, beat out our competitors, and maybe we want to try to incentivize people to come in and buy Beetles, new Beetles, right? Maybe we want to direct some of our advertising dollars that way. And now that's very strategic. We're no longer saying, hey, I think that I can do, that we should be advertising this, or I feel that, these are going to be selling better this month, right? Now we actually have a data-based predictor to help guide us in our advertising decisions. Now, the converse is that Passats, we've got a ton of Passats on the lot. Okay, and we sold a bunch, 15. We've got 66 on the lot, but search activity for Passats is going up. It's up a lot. In fact, it's pretty much the exact opposite of the Beetles. And so what that allows us to do is maybe we say, okay, well, we already know that shoppers are hot for Passats right now, and that's good. So maybe we want to funnel some strategic advertising dollars into Passats, maybe some digital marketing, low cost, very targeted, Passat shoppers, searchers. But when it comes time for people to buy from us, maybe we tell the sales team, well, we want to actually try to hold gross. We know these are in high demand, so we want to be reasonable, of course, with our with our sales process. But maybe we can actually, knowing that consumers want to buy these cars, and knowing that there are a lot of people looking for these cars, looking for Passats, since the search activity has increased, maybe now we can do a better job of holding gross for the next month or two until the shopper activity changes. So again, a couple of concrete use cases for this particular drill down. So moving on, let's go again to another. Let's look for another dealer. Here we go. So the traffic tab. So this is a new release as of a couple of weeks ago. We're really excited about this because this helps answer the question that you probably had in your mind from the dashboard looking at the web traffic around, okay, well, now I know where to start looking, but I need to get more granular than that. I need to know exactly which campaigns are working, which campaigns aren't working. Maybe I need to make some adjustments to landing pages, et cetera, et cetera. So again, making more efficient use of your advertising dollars and also of the effort that you put into your website that you're funneling all your traffic to. And so maybe we're just doing an overall, maybe we've got a vendor coming in, right? Maybe it's, maybe we're evaluating a vendor. We want to see how the performance is doing. And we want to look at our own metrics, not have to rely necessarily on their reports, right? Because we want to tie it all together with everything else that we're doing. Maybe, maybe it's just a monthly check-in or what have you. Any number of use cases for this to be able to figure out exactly what is going on with the type of traffic that a particular vendor is driving to the site. And so in this case, we're looking at SEM and PPC, okay? And so maybe we're saying, all right, well, let's look at the three highest performing campaigns, PPC campaigns and landing pages for us, right? Let's see what's happening here. Pretty good conversion rates. I mean, very good. So the brand campaign, very, very good. The Gen used BLNG campaign is working pretty well, whatever that is. And the service campaign is actually working pretty well, okay? Now let's look also at the top three or bottom three, depending on your perspective, campaigns that aren't working so well. Because again, maybe we want to, it's not about necessarily trimming fat, so to speak, or cutting down spend. Sometimes all it's a matter of is re-optimizing the landing pages or the campaigns that you're currently running. So in this particular case, we see that about 6.5%, give or take, of total paid traffic is coming from this competitive conquest campaign. And you see that it has a fairly low conversion rate. So if we click on that, you can see that, and this is actually kind of cool, the sense that we're not just going to give you the percentage of traffic from this particular campaign that hit your site. We're actually going to tell you what that traffic did. The traffic that didn't bounce, we're going to tell you what that traffic did after they hit the site. And so you can get an idea of what that traffic is doing. So in other words, this is a primarily inventory-focused set of traffic that comes through this campaign. A little bit of fixed ops stuff and some info stuff, some basically dealership info, phone numbers about us, contact us, that sort of thing. And down here, over here, we're able to get insight into where visitors are coming from this campaign. So in other words, are we doing a good job of targeting geographically relevant, I should say, visitors? Okay, in this particular case, most of the visitors are coming from at least 10, 15, 20 miles away from the dealership. And maybe that's okay because, again, it's competitive conquest. That's what it looks like. And we're landing them on new vehicle offers. So, maybe this is okay, but maybe we want to do a better job of optimizing the landing page because of the conversion rate, or do a better job of optimizing the language that we're using for all of the campaigns. Okay, and so, and I'll highlight very quickly, again, we see that red exclamation point, right? Bounce rate is trending down. So bounce rate overall for paid traffic is trending down, which is good. You can see it's negative 5%, down 5% month on month, but it still remains above the 45% benchmark. And so again, we're paying for traffic to hit our site, and 58.53% of that traffic is just bouncing. So we're paying for people to hit the site and then to leave. And so that's why we have highlighted this as an important little gem or action item. Again, optimize those landing pages, optimize the content of the campaigns. So without necessarily spending another dollar, just a little bit of elbow grease, and a couple of phone calls to vendors, you might be able to get that bounce rate down and squeeze more productivity out of the existing dollars that you're spending, rather than throwing more money at a particular problem, right? Why would you keep doing the same thing, throwing more money at something that's not working as efficiently as it should be? So that's important. And that, again, direct use case in terms of optimizing, having a vendor meeting, having an intelligent discussion, optimizing campaigns, et cetera, et cetera. And last thing I'll highlight, we'll look at if you have a particular, for example, say let's go down here. Okay, say we signed up with, here we go, Pandora, for example, right? So maybe Pandora is, you're paying X dollars a month and you want to say, okay, well, I've been using this for, 30 days now. How am I doing? So you click on it, you say, okay, well, maybe the conversion rate's not so great. It drove 72 visitors to my site. And it looks like we're driving into a Honda Civic offer page and they're really not looking at any inventory pages or fixed ops pages, which is okay, I suppose. But they are poking around a little bit, 4% engagement on dealership clicks. So maybe you want to either optimize the landing page or you want to optimize the relationship you have with Pandora with regard to what sort of creative you have running on Pandora.com. And you could do the same thing for for any campaign or traffic source or what have you. So, and then down here, again, getting to the gems, we called out the overall bounce rate. We're calling out some other bounce rates as well. It looks like Pandora actually has an 80.1% bounce rate. So maybe that's typical of Pandora traffic, but it's something you should definitely be aware of because, high bounce rate isn't necessarily, it might not be a bad thing, but it's something that you should definitely be aware of going into a relationship with whether it's Pandora or anybody else. And, make sure, of course, that traffic is well optimized because, again, something that could contribute to a high bounce rate is the fact that some of the traffic is coming from far, far away from the dealership, and therefore they hit your site and they say, "Wait a minute, this is not relevant. I'm going to bounce off." So last tab. Thanks for bearing with me. Hopefully this is interesting and relevant to you guys. I'm trying to make it relevant. So last use case. This would be a simple question, right? Whether it's an e-commerce director you're trying to get buy-in, whether it's a GM trying to get a handle on, well, what I keep hearing that reviews are important. I keep hearing that everybody's talking about reviews. I keep hearing these statistics, people saying that shoppers read reviews before they decide to do business with a dealership. How are we doing on that? And if you don't have a solution to the review management problem, review intelligence, so to speak, that could be a bit of a doozy. And so we take a lot of the heavy lifting off your hands, and we include some pretty salient review or reputation intelligence directly into the tool. It's not a full reputation management solution that you'd have to look elsewhere, either to us, we have a solution for that, or to another vendor. But we take you halfway there by giving you a quick hit overview of where you stand on a month-by-month basis, and not just where you stand by yourself, in this case, say 19 positive reviews over the last month, but where you stand relative to national average, regional average, and even, if applicable, your top competitor. And we also give you insight, I should say, into your negative reviews as well. So overall, great. We've gotten a good chunk of reviews. That's fantastic. We have overall a pretty good average. We maybe need to work out a process for responding to those reviews because that's a best practice, right? It's not just getting reviews, it's actually responding to both positive and negative reviews. That's important. And you can actually see down here, these are all the reviews, right? The latest reviews, okay, from looks like Cars.com, DealerRater, and Google. And it looks like you see that we've highlighted this in red because this is actually a 1-star review. So therefore, you'd want to take a look at that, and you'd want to respond to that person on Google Plus and try to make it right. Okay, so I'm sure this is simply a case of a misunderstanding. This is actually a great dealership. This particular one, know them very, very well, and they run a very, very, very good operation. And so obviously, doing as much business as these guys do, you're always going to maybe step on a couple toes. But I know that know the GM, know the ownership, and these guys are they're all about making it right. So this would be a great tool for them to be able to say, okay, let's make it right with this particular person, and let's respond, and let's try to get them back in or on the phone, and again make it right. So that's so not only do you get the overview to answer the question of, well, geez, we need to get a handle on our reviews. How are we doing? Again, 30 seconds later, you can report on that to your GM or dealer principal or what have you. and say, here's how we're doing. Of course, if you're the GM, you can check up and make sure that processes that you've put in place are functioning properly, right? And you can see on a review source by review source basis exactly what's been going on. Activity looks like we're focused very highly on DealerRater, Cars.com, and Google. We can, some room for opportunity here in Edmunds, City Search, Yahoo, for example, Super Pages. And we also get a quick hit into the latest reviews, what's been happening, what do we need to respond to right away in terms of the priority, and what can we wait on. So that's the high level overview, use case by use case, to how it's very relevant to both an e-commerce director or internet manager, as well as a general manager, and even a dealer principal or a sales manager, et cetera, et cetera. But this is a very, very practical tool that takes a lot of the pain and heavy lifting out of the equation and allows you, as a dealer, to focus much more on seizing opportunities that you otherwise might miss, given the fact that you guys are so busy, and take advantage of the technology and the processes and the partners that you've already put into place. So that's it, and hopefully you've enjoyed this, and hopefully it was relevant. Thank you very much. Feel free to go to our website if you have any further questions, stringautomotive.com. Give us a call, send us an email, what have you. We are here to help, answer any questions, and just generally talk data and digital marketing. So thanks very much.